Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, it seems not a day goes by without another film that we love and cherish and adore and revere getting the makeover treatment, the sequel treatment, the reboot, the reimagining, you know the script, getting redone. And now it's the turn of Scanners from David Cronenberg. David Cronenberg, the Canadian auteur of body horror, metamorphosis, disease, corruption, bodily corruption, mental corruption, and corporate corruption. All of which was in his film Scanners, which was the first film that I ever actually got on home video of all of my own. You guys know this story. There it is. I've actually got my old original Betamax copy. When I was 10 years old, my mother bought me a Betamax video recorder. And I wasn't very happy because it wasn't VHS, it was Betamax. Little did I know that Beta was better. But she bought me 2 movies as well to go alongside that. Scanners was one, and The Exterminator was the other. And I was just 10 years old. Whoopee-doo! I love Scanners. One of my all-time favourite movies. I've reviewed it on the channel, so I'll put the link below to that. Which I had a big reenactment at the start of it, of the Darryl Revick and the other scanner getting his head blown apart. I reenacted that scene with minimal budget, but lots of insane creativity and imagination and flair. Do have a look. Anyway, Scanners. We have a drug which is called ephemeral, which has brought about defects in the newborn babies. A bit like the whole thalidomide scandal. Certainly has its basis within that. And the side effect of this drug, which was given to these parents, the mothers, is that the unborn children who survive have amazing psychic abilities. They've got telekinesis, telepathy, they can make people do whatever they want, but they can also blow people up, mutate things. Their powers are kind of limitless. You never really get to see in Scanners itself just the extent of their powers. But this is a film that also gave us the unleashed broadside of Michael Ironside, one of the world's greatest, most maverick, most iconic of crazy actors. A kind of like a poor man's Jack Nicholson. And yet, that sounds terrible, but the lower rent Jack Nicholson, they look similar and they have the same intensity and they are driven by the same sort of propulsive need to have eccentric wildcard characters in their resume. And Michael Ironside is the best. Anyway, I've discussed the film a lot in the past, so I won't really badger you too much with what went on. But 2 brothers, Cain and Abel basically. One's a good scanner, one's a bad scanner. One wants to take over the world, one wants to stop him and use scanners for the betterment of mankind. And the 2 go head to head, which in a film called Scanners about heads erupting, that's not a good sort of situation to be in. So, it was a big success. It spawned a couple of sequels. Scanners, The New Order, Scanners, The Takeover, which aren't bad, which nicely expanded on the idea. And then you got Scanner Cop and Scanner Cop 2. And I think that's where it ended, movie-wise. But the film has such a cult following. And Cronenberg is always a marketable name. He's one of the few guys from the 70s and the early 80s who made his name like John Carpenter, like Dario Argento, with cult classic movies which have been, so analysed and revered for the decades ever since. But the others kind of petered out and stopped doing anything worthwhile. But Cronenberg sort of honed and toned what he was doing. His shock body horror stuff turned into more warped cerebral stories. Cosmopolis, what is it? Acts of Violence, History of Violence, and the other one, Eastern Promises, Spider. So many bizarre movies, Crash being one of the huge ones, of course. They're almost always highly controversial in some aspect, whether it's visceral quality or like the imagery. the likes of The Fly, Videodrome, one of my favourites. Crash, very, very warped. One of the best adaptations of a Stephen King novel, The Dead Zone, with Christopher Walken. My God, that's a great, great movie. Dead Rings with Jeremy Irons in 2 roles. So many other movies as well. And he's crossed over genres from the body horror, as I was trying to say before I distracted myself, the body horror turned into cerebral intellectual horror. He did The Naked Lunch as well, and Madame Butterfly. It really, there's no stopping what this guy can do, and Cronenberg is still going. We have his revamped version of Crimes of the Future. He did 2 shorts, there might have been more than that actually, but Stereo and Crimes of the Future in the sort of early to mid 70s. And he's expanded on the idea of Crimes of the Future for a film which has only just sort of come out now, Crimes of the Future, which I've not actually seen. There's lavish remake of it, which is meant to be truly disturbing. Although I've seen a lot of bad reviews for it as well. But even though I love Cronenberg, a lot of his stuff, I kind of like, I admire it. So his stuff is always very admirable from a technical standpoint, from a directorial standpoint. And the themes are always well worth exploring and cleverly analysed in his movies. But one of the unique gifts that Cronenberg has is also one of the things which puts many people off, and that's his kind of glacial style. He will draw out great performances from his actors, and they're great stories, but I don't know if it's a Canadian thing, but there's this sort of frosty chill throughout a lot of his movies, even the later movies, the more recent movies, where you don't really have so much of a connection with the characters. You're admiring what's happening from a distance, you're enjoying the set pieces and the convoluted, twisted storytelling, but you can't really connect with the characters and feel much empathy. Sometimes you do. I mean, Seth Brundle, Jeff Goldblum in The Fly, of course you feel for him as his bits and bobs keep falling off and he's mutating and vomiting on his food, and I always say this, but every time I talk about The Fly, there's one thing that I keep thinking of, and no, it's not the arm wrestling bit, none of that. It's that his telepods work. They genuinely work. It's one of those experiments which is absolutely groundbreaking, will change the world, and it works. It's perfect, except for one thing. The fly gets in there. The fly in the ointment. And it all goes titty up from that point onwards, or titty fall off, because he just mutates into this big, tragic, huge, grotesque fly. Wonderful film. It has yet to be properly discussed and reviewed on this channel. I will rectify that at some point. But that's about the one time when I genuinely felt true empathy and sympathy. Empathy with and sympathy for the main character. A lot of his other movies, it's hard to do that. Certain films you have to watch again and again and again to get the underlying subtext of actual emotion. In other movies, emotion is the forefront of a character's motive. That's what binds them to the audience. But with Cronenberg, it's a different kettle of fish, and that's why you approach them differently. And some people don't feel comfortable with his movies, not because they're grotesque and special effects driven, which in a lot of cases they are. Later ones, they're not. It's more storytelling, but there's still a lot of convolutions and metamorphosis and transformations of the mind and of characters' ideas. So they're still kind of disturbing. Maybe not such a graphic, visceral nature, but they're still disturbing at the same time. His earlier movies certainly were controversial because of the gore effects and the nastiness. Things like Shivers, with little turd-like parasites invading people's bodies through various orifices, and great effects, albeit low budget and early school sort of stuff, moving through people's bodies and causing a sexual revolution in a high-rise Montreal tower block. And then you got Rabid with Marilyn Chambers, porn star, turning in a really good performance, who undergoes some radical plastic surgery, or genetic surgery, which causes a rather phallic-shaped, I'm not itching under here, that she gets a phallic parasitic sort of appendage under her armpit, which with that, she spreads rabies or a form of rabies around Montreal again. And it becomes a sort of Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead scenario where you have people getting bitten and taken over. The plague just spreads, but these aren't just zombies. These can run and they can use power tools as someone gets a massive pneumatic drill put through a car door and then through his leg. But it's a dark, disturbing movie. And then he did The Brood, which is even more disturbing, and I've covered The Brood extensively. I love it. But Oliver Reed, Samantha Eggar, brilliant movie. And it shows in painful and very nasty detail the dissolution of a family, of a marriage. And the reason why it's so dark and disturbing is because Cronenberg was going through a massive, horrible, very unamicable divorce himself. And it just burst forth in the story for this film, The Brood, where Samantha Eggar, separated from her husband, her once loving husband, who's now got the little girl. I won't go into too much details, but in the new radical sort of therapy by Oliver Reed, Dr. Hal Raglan, in his new experimental sort of retreat, the way he makes people regress, it forms on some people like cancers, but with her, it makes her manifest their inner rage by giving birth to the monsters of her own psychotic, hateful id. So these little demonic kids go out and abduct the little girl, the real daughter, and they kill anyone that stands in their way. Anyone who's an element that she hates, they'll go out and kill. So they are The Brood. That is a really, really powerful movie. And again, it kind of, a lot of people didn't like it because it even though it was nasty and it had little monster kids and was gore and violence and murders, I think it cut too close to home for a lot of people as well, because they were seeing a cinematic manifestation of their own angst and hatred and hostility within their own homes. And it's a domestic existential horror movie. Who else could do that but David Cronenberg? And then he made Scanners. So anyway, the point of this video, of course, is that Scanners, although it's had 2 direct sequels and then the Scanner Cop offshoots, so 4 follow-ons it's had. Now they're going to revisit it again. HBO are going to revisit this in not a movie. It's going to be a TV show. Now HBO, let's be honest, probably the best production values on any sort of TV show that's going. So many great things have been born out of HBO. So on a technical standpoint, not a bad idea. Cronenberg is on hand as executive producer. I don't even know what that means. You see a lot of people who are executive producers. It basically means people go, oh, well, they're involved. He's not involved in it at all. He's just gone, well, okay, yeah, do it, do whatever. I'm just signing it off. My name will go on it because that'll bring people to watch it. So, it kind of makes out I'm endorsing it. It's not made yet, by the way, folks. It's not made yet. It's being developed. It's going ahead. It's definitely happening. I'll tell you who's behind it. I've got little notes again, right, it's written by one of the guys that wrote some of the best episodes of Black Mirror. Ooh, Black Mirror. No, not Charlie Brooker. No, the other guy, William Bridges. He's writing and he's the showrunner. By the way, folks, I hate that term, showrunner. Oh, you see other people discussing TV shows and I'm not having a pop. It makes me go, oh God. I hate jargon. I despise jargon. And they go like, oh, I'm the showrunner for this. No, he was a showrunner on that and that and that. Showrunner. Fuck off. To me, a showrunner is the guy that just runs around, oh, what do you need, sir? Oh, cup of coffee? cigars. I'm running around the set for the show. No, the showrunner is the main creator. He's the mover and shaker. He's steering the ship, the show. He's running the show. Showrunner. So William Bridges is writing and showrunning it. And then you've got Yann Demange, which is a kind of French-Canadian sort of name. So, ties in there. Yann Demange is directing it. And Cronenberg's exec producing it. So what's it about then? Well, it's set in the universe of the original Scanners. The basic gist of it is, you've got two women who are, I'm paraphrasing now from what I read just before, they are living on the fringes of society, trying to, understand what's happening, because clearly they must be scanners, and they are being pursued by relentless agents. But the way it's written, it says, pursued relentlessly by agents with unimaginable powers. So hang on, is that the agents who've got unimaginable powers, or is it the girls, the women that have got unimaginable powers? Methinks both in some cases. I think they are definitely scanners. I don't know, when I say two women living on the fringe of society and struggling to come to terms with what's happening around them and find their place, it immediately makes you think that they are the offspring of someone who had the drug ephemeral, so they are scanners themselves. Or is it because they are two lesbians? I see what I'm doing here. I'm already, preempting the whole woke cavalcade. Sorry, I can't resist it. Another bit of jargon which I can't stand, woke. But is it two lesbians and who discover they've got these powers, but they're already on the fringe of society because of their own sort of sexual identity, and suddenly they're getting pursued because the corrupt government know that they've got these powers and want to bring them in. The whole thing about scanners is that, as I said before, you've got good scanners, you've got bad scanners. And there's government agencies that want to use them. Some want to use them for good means, some want to use them for bad means. Darryl Revick, him behind me, Michael Ironside, wants to create a new race of scanners and wipe out, the world of normals and make them normal. Where Stephen Lack, who plays Cameron Vale, he's the good guy, he wants to put an end to that. And he gets recruited by Patrick McGowan's Dr. Paul Ruth, who is the guy that created Ephemeral in the first place and is basically their father, and it's cleverly done. Cronenberg handles all this expertly, and I'm not reviewing Scanners. Kilt-Man, try to remember and keep on track for once, will you? Never gonna happen, is it? Especially when I'm always drinking this stuff. Cheers, you all. And anyway, I've basically given all that we know about this new TV show from HBO. Not entirely sure what it's going to be called. I presume it's just going to be called Scanners. Scanners, the TV show. Scanners, the series. Something like that. But I would suspect that this could actually be quite good. Now, why? I knock forever the fact that they can't leave stuff alone. They're forever plundering all the films that we loved as kids and teenagers, the films that we grew up on. They remake stuff and they retweak stuff and reboot it. Nothing is sacred now. Legacy movies or OG stuff is always going to be revisited and mutated and changed. In a way, I suppose that Cronenberg likes that idea because it's taking his idea and it's show running with it. It's mutating it and transforming it. All his films are about that, about metamorphosis and new ideas coming in. Like a disease, they can work positively or negatively, but in Cronenberg's world, nothing is actually that bad. Even a parasite, he allows it to live because it's doing something crazy and creative and innovative, which is the way that he operates anyway. So you can see that theme there in all of his movies. And I hope that they're going to keep that going throughout the TV show. Let it be dark, let it be edgy. Scanners the movie was about also a corrupt government agencies wanting to use these things, weaponize them, use them for security purposes and nefarious means. From already, if you've got agents with powers who are going after them, that clearly is also the main thrust of this. So are these two women going to go on the run? Are they going to meet other people that have got these powers? And they're going to form their own sort of faction, their own sort of cell, and then filter out into society and start fighting back. So the whole series will be a succession of deceit, chase, surveillance, shocks aplenty, and hopefully, boom! Lots of mutating skin, popping eyeballs, veins exploding, and heads just erupting off shoulders. Let's hope so. HBO, don't hold back. They don't hold back on the gore, on the violence. They don't hold back on taboo sort of themes, and they don't hold back on sex either. I'm no prude, but I don't really see. I don't really want Scanners to become a sex fest either. I don't, because I want to see Scanners for its cerebral twisting, its conspiracy sort of goading, and its gore effects and great characters fighting against other characters with powers. But let's hope it isn't like Heroes or the X-Men, because it does run into that sort of Vogue at the same time. Vogue, wasn't that one of the... No, it was Rogue, wasn't it? No, Vogue was a Gladiator. Anyway. But I'm not against this, because I think Cronenberg's original movie had so much more scope to it. It's a lovely enclosed movie. The finale is terrific. The final scanning duel is one of my favourite sequences in all of genre cinema. And the final revelation, which I'm not going to go into, because you've seen the film, you know what it is. I like that little twist at the end, how they've swapped over and all that. But you also think, how is that going to really work? Because she fancies Stephen Lack and she hates Michael Ironside. So suddenly the good guy's now in the body of the bad guy, and the bad guy's a frazzled up corpse of the good guy. And I'm meant to be friends with you. You wouldn't trust anyone, would you? You know. But I hope they keep all these twists and turns and expand episode by episode on the powers that they've all got, because they're all obviously going to be evolving. Who knows what they can do next? And maybe these two women will twist against each other at some point. They'll be corrupted. One will be swayed by, hang on a minute, all we're getting is persecution from everybody, and we're spurned by everybody because we're outsiders, because we're different. I'm going to go with them because they're offering me a lot more than what you can. But no, this is freedom. They're going to use you, and you don't want to be a weapon. I'm only making the fucking script up. What am I doing? I like my version. And in my version, they are lesbians. So you can have a couple of sex scenes in it. Oh, I know. I'm only a man, flesh and blood. And Cronenberg works with flesh and blood. And even though he's only exec producing this, I would like to think that he's going to have a bit more of a hand in how this goes and pans out. This is one of his babies, you know. Has Cronenberg been involved in other TV shows? Has he? I can't think. He might have been, but I can't think of any right now. And of course, we all want to see a return of Button Face or Buttonhead, Dr. Decker from Nightbreed. We all want to see him again, because Cronenberg was actually great. Now, he's not the world's greatest actor, of course he isn't, but his sort of monotone voice and that scholarly, almost medical professional sort of face that he has, which is just completely deadpan and monotone. It really works for certain characters, obviously. But oh, cheers, y'all. I'm playing Howard Shore's amazing score for the original Scanners. Howard Shore, who scored a lot of Cronenberg's early movies, with very dissonant tonal weirdness. And then with Videodrome, highly sensual yet sinister and very experimental, but a wonderful, wonderful score at the same time. This is more powerful, I would say. It's more urgent. These are the scanning jewels, and it's just shrill, exciting, unnerving stuff. He would then go on, of course, to use full orchestras, the biggest orchestras you can imagine, for the likes of Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit, and King Kong for Peter Jackson. So Howard Shore is one of the greatest composers we have living at the moment. I do not know who's doing the score for this. I'd like to think they bring some of like this theme in. It'd be wonderful, but I don't know. My little notes don't give me any more details because I don't think we know any more details as yet. But we're going to get more scanners. I am not against this. I'm actually quite in favour of it because I think there's a lot more material, hopefully well written and well directed and well acted, to be explored. There's a lot more to this theme. Cronenberg set this in motion. Let's hope it delivers. Let's really hope it delivers. But what's going to be next? He's remade Crimes of the Future. Are we going to get a remake of The Brood? A TV show with The Fly? Videodrome updated for the modern digital, streaming media? Could be done. Of course it could be done. For me, my favourite Cronenberg movies are, without a doubt, The Brood, Scanners, The Fly, Videodrome. The rest are all admirable, of course, but for me, he's never topped any of those sacred movies. They've always been the best. The Dead Zone, I forgot to mention that one, didn't I? The Dead Zone, that's in there as well. But they are just genius. They are genre films with ideas, literally just exploding, popping across the screen. And you don't leave those movies from the cinema, or you don't turn them off from your Betamax or your VHS on your VCR, or turn them off from your streaming platform and come away with it and just go back, go to bed now, or I'll have a pizza and a bottle of beer. They get inside your head and they do provide a lot of synapse impulses and thoughts and ideas. They're clever stuff. Cronenberg's a very, very clever man. He's never been your sort of pop culture, like say Joe Dante or Walter Hill, just doing the same theme again and again, just action, and it's just generic, but with a directorial stylistic flourish, instantly recognisable. Cronenberg's movies actually get in there and really start to mess with your brain and make you start thinking. Some people don't like that, of course. Some people are just totally, they're allergic to having ideas in their own head and to start thinking and questioning movies. But I love that in its place. And by the way, I love Walter Hill and Joe Dante. I wasn't using them as he's better than them. He's not better than them. I love Dante. I love Walter Hill. Some of my favourite films are from both of those two guys. But in this world, I like to be able to go to Cronenberg to have, I want to be dazzled, not just wowed by special effects, which always do work, but I want to be moved on a sort of cerebral level. And not many directors can do that, I don't think. So my hopes for the TV show will be it's gonna have all those ideas and evolve with them, because it's Scanners. It's based on a biological idea, a drug, a seminal, which has been pumped in, and it's caused all this. Cronenberg stuff is always scientific / medical / biological, and it can be used for warfare. It's a tragic thing, but there could be beauty involved in it as well, if used and understood correctly. And in a post-COVID pandemic world, there's a lot more that could be brought into this idea. Whether they're going to base it on, to my understanding, they're basing it on the original, it's in the same universe, or are they going to move the whole thing forward so maybe it's born out of like a vaccine for a pandemic or something like that, or are they keeping it as ephemeral? I don't know. But I'm intrigued enough by this to really go, bring it on. Want to see this. You know, I'm not against it at all. But you watch, I'll get 2 episodes in and go, I fucking hate this. It'll start off great, and then I'll be like, oh, you know what? This is going down roads I didn't want it to, and I don't like you. Your story's crap. Just cut to the chase. I need something, or just give me something to think about at least. No, I'm saying that. I don't know. See, I've already written half of this in my own brain. That's the beauty of Scanners. It's put ideas into my head, and I'm already mutating them around and transforming them. And who needs a drug called ephemeral when you've got an even better, tastier drug called whiskey? Cheers, Joel. Anyway, please do comment below and let me know what you think about this TV show of Scanners. It could be great, it could be a travesty. But as always, as you're seeing, I keep reporting on stuff which keeps, it's either a franchise entry or it's a remake or whatever, a sequel. And I'm always initially, because we've all got this in us now, we've all got this little thing. If we're of a certain age, we're like, oh God, won't they leave things alone? That's my initial thought every time when I hear, oh, we're going to get another Hellraiser. Oh my God, another Halloween. Oh Jesus. Oh, they want to remake Jaws. They want to remake The Thing. Oh, what? Leave them alone. My instant reaction is rage at it. And then I begin to think, well, I love the original. Maybe there's room for more. Who knows? So what I'm saying is I'm probably the eternal optimist with these things. But I'm also heavily realistic and prepared to hate and despise on it as well. If it lets me down, I'll let you know about it. Anyway, please do us a favour. Like this video, share this video, and if you're not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. I don't know what any of this means. Everybody else on these YouTube videos says it all the time. So, I'm not gonna run away from the flock. I'm a sheeple as much as anybody is. So, in the meantime, in this ever sort of cerebral, synapse expanding in between time, please keep it Celtic, and I'm going to see you all laters. Scanners, a TV show. Mind blown.